Thank you so much for being part of our Eco Advance project. Mark Horton, can you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Okay, thank you. My name is Mark Horton. I'm the All Ireland Director of the Rivers Trust, and the Rivers Trust is a charity that's based in Ireland and the UK, which is concerned with the conservation of rivers and freshwater environments at a catchment scale and engaging the community and all of the catchment stakeholders in river and freshwater management.
You've been doing this for quite a while. How did you get there?
Yeah, quite a long time. It's been an interesting journey. I started actually working in river management and conservation back in 2004. I had studied rivers and catchment management at university before that, and I've always had a big interest in rivers all of my life and the wildlife that lives in and along rivers. So in 2004, I moved to Northern Ireland from England, and I got a job working on a conservation project in a river in County Tyrone called the Ballinderry River. And at that time, it was a project through a local community organisation that had set itself up to look after that particular river in partnership with WWF, the Global Conservation Organisation, to try and reduce the pressure of agriculture on that particular river at the time. And, you know, my career has grown from there. And I've spent all of my working life in Northern Ireland and now working in Ireland as well, on an all-Ireland basis. So taking the learnings from having worked in a community organisation established by itself to look after a river, to now inspire other groups to do something similar and set up their own river conservation charities right across the island of Ireland.
That's great. What do you see as the main challenges now for river restoration projects? What would you consider as the key challenges that they face?
Well, I mean, there are major challenges to our freshwater environment, and they're all interconnected challenges. And they're not simply about freshwater, they're about the biodiversity that depends on our freshwater scapes, but also about climate impact as well. So, you know, the impact that climate is having on the freshwater environment, but also the impact that land management is having on climate and climate adaptation. And so I think the main challenges at the minute for freshwater and for rivers are understanding all the complex relationships between all of these things that are happening at a catchment scale, and how we can work with people to try and reduce their impact on the water environment through changed land management and changed behaviour, because, you know, nature is a wonderful thing. If we left nature alone, it would put itself right. It would find a new balance. But in reality, the big problem is people. We know that. You know, it's when we are present in the environment that things start to go wrong. So, you know, being able to affect people's understanding of their role within the environment and the role they can play in protecting that environment is really important, but it's also really difficult, and it's very difficult to change people's behaviour. So we're always trying to look for the benefits, the win-win benefits, that if you do something as an individual to benefit the environment, it is also going to benefit you and your family and future generations.
So how would you suggest that the governments or the European Commission can take those ideas and enable more and successful restoration projects?
Yeah, I mean, there is lots of great science that's gone on over the decades. There's a great understanding and an increasing understanding of the pressures that our water environment faces, and also what we need to do to put that right. But day in, daily, I am always overwhelmed by the amount of information and knowledge that local people have about their environment. They know where the problems are. They see the things that other people haven't seen, and they understand the complex relationships that are happening in the local area in which they live, and how we can approach people in their local area to try and encourage them to do something differently. So I think, at a European level, what we need to be doing is valuing the importance of local knowledge and expertise. The people who live and work and play in these river catchments have really valuable knowledge and expertise that we need to make a real difference on the ground. And at a European level, we need to be enabling these local communities and these local people to play an active role in the management and conservation of the freshwater environment. And the biggest barrier at the minute is that people, local people who are going about their daily lives, don't know how to engage in this type of conservation work. They don't feel empowered to be able to play a role in protecting their own local environment. And what we want to see is greater empowerment of the public to play a meaningful role, and that they can see they're making a real difference to their local environment and their future.
Well, you've done a project, haven't you, that kind of takes that idea and puts it in implementation and implements it. Can you tell a little bit about it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've worked across many projects where there have been examples I could give you of empowerment of the local community to make a difference. But I think one that probably would be recognizable to a lot of people is the issue around having pesticides in rivers and chemicals in rivers that are used throughout the landscape, particularly in agricultural settings, but also householders are using chemicals all of the time, and they find their way into our water systems, and they can have an impact on water quality and on biodiversity within those river systems. And the particular project that I'm thinking of is one we called Source to Tap, because it was very much about the source of people's drinking water, and what happened to that water before it came out of their tap, and all the pressures that are placed on that drinking water. And it was a big partnership project. It involved and was led by Northern Ireland Water, the water company that looks after water in Northern Ireland. It was also supported by Uisce Éireann, which is the Irish water company, and then a number of partners who were looking at science and evidence around what the project was doing. And the focus of it was to engage as many landowners as possible in changing behaviour and giving them the knowledge and skills that they required so that they could carry on farming, carry on being able to make a profit, which is very important for the rural economy, but also doing it in a water-friendly way. And it was the gap in knowledge that local landowners had that really was the big problem. They didn't realise that the chemicals they were using, and in this case it was MCPA, which is a grassland herbicide used to control rush growth in grass fields, that it was actually washing off the fields and getting into the river. And they didn't know that. They didn't realise the impact that that chemical was having. Yet the water company could see that impact in their water treatment plant. They were having to build big, expensive treatment processes to remove all of those chemicals again. So, it was quite shocking at the time for the community to learn that a 35 pounds bottle of herbicide that was being used across a number of fields needed a treatment plant at the other end costing £5 million to remove the herbicide again from the water. And these things don't add up, clearly. So it was about going back up the river system, talking to and working with all of the landowners to say, is there a different way of doing this? Can we change practice to be more water friendly, but still derive the benefit that the landowner needs whilst protecting water quality? And I'm really pleased to say that through 2 or 3 years of very intense community engagement and a land incentive scheme that actually helped farmers to change land management practice, we not only reduced the amount of herbicide getting into the river, but we also reduced the amount of soil that was being lost from the land, that was also impacting on drinking water quality as well. And at the end of the project, we were able to show that for every £1 that had been invested on the ground, there was a £3.36 saving or benefit, at the kind of water treatment end of the system. So it just shows that catchment management and engaging communities in changing practice pays off economically, socially, and environmentally. That is really important, that engagement at a local community level.
That sounds like a great project. Thank you so much for that. It sounds like putting the science and the practice and bridging those is a significant contribution. So thanks a million, and we really appreciate your being part of Eco Advance.